All right, here we go. We're getting started. Welcome to another new voice show. And guess what? We got a new studio. Look at this thing.
Whoa!
Whoa!
It's a new building.
I know. It's
wow.
It's like we're in a whole new part of the world.
A whole new world.
Yeah. Aladdin.
Yeah.
There we go.
I was gonna keep singing, but I don't actually know that song. Well, it's not really singing, but I was going to keep singing.
You were gonna
the
keep
lyrics.
reciting it
Yes.
as poetry. It's
yes,
okay. I
slam
don't know.
poetry. Just
I don't know if we can get in legal trouble for that or not, but
copyright. Disney copyrights us for just saying their song.
yeah. Anyways, we are starting another episode. I am your host, Brendan Madison.
I am your other host, Jonny G.
That's right.
Yes.
And
it's us. Still us.
we have not yet changed.
No.
We're wearing the same clothes from last time.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyways, I think we're gonna switch it up from the last two that we've done a little bit. And Jonny, you had some ideas for how we were gonna approach this one. So what were you thinking today?
Well, we've definitely been very heavily comic book oriented over the last two podcasts, and that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, it's a very good thing. I enjoy talking about my nerdiness as much as the next guy. Anyway, I thought that this podcast we would talk a little bit more about other things, not as much comic book stuff, but just kind of about us, get to know the hosts a little bit. The hosts being us.
yeah, because we don't talk about ourselves enough already.
No, not at all. We need to be a lot more self-centered and selfish.
Exactly.
That's what we need.
This is our show.
Yeah! We're gonna just make sure you know it's our show. Anyway, yeah, so I know you like comics. We've established that both of us like comics a lot, but I know you're also into other things. Like I see you go on like hikes a lot through Snapchat and stuff like that. Is that a thing you really enjoy doing?
Yes it is. Yeah. I do go on a lot of hikes. I've got my I don't know if I'd call it a club, but my group of people who I know my hiking squad. Yeah, so I go out in the woods. We live in a good area for that. Yeah, thankfully.
Definitely.
And yeah, yes, I do. Did you have any follow-up questions?
No, I was just hikes. I was gonna ask, like, do you have like a group you go out with? You've got your little hiking squad, and we've established that now. So I don't really know what other question. I know you take your dog out a lot. Do you usually take your dog out when you go hiking?
When I can. It depends on how many people I'm driving around. Yeah. Because if you have to make your dog sit on other people, that's rude. But I'm not above that. I have done it before.
If they are okay, you will do it.
Yeah. I've been going to the local national park a lot recently, and you can't bring dogs there.
Oh, you can't? Really?
No, I don't think so. A lot of because it's like a national park, it's a nature reserve, so I mean, people are pretty awful against nature, but at least when you're in a designated area, you can be told to, hey, be nice to nature. Yeah. You can't tell dogs to do that. They're gonna chase anything they can. They're gonna poop on the trail.
I don't think they're as much worried about the poop as they are about the digging and
just
disturbing the wildlife,
disrupting the natural area.
Yeah. I get it, but it's like,
yeah,
I get it. I just get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I do when I can. But that is. When you can't always see the wildlife around you, you get to bring your own animals. And watch them do their thing. So I like that. Also, dogs are nice.
Yeah. And another question I was gonna ask. You know, Mossbury Falls is like around us.
I did that the other day, actually.
Yeah, it's such a nice waterfall. Like, if you're listening on YouTube, here's a picture of Mossbury Falls, so you guys can understand exactly what's going on. It's a beautiful waterfall, and
well, that was an interesting one. I'd never done it before. My sister heard about it like years ago, and she doesn't do as much hikes as I do, but she would not stop talking about it for like years.
It's so cool.
I'd say, hey, you want to go on a hike? And she'd be, only if I go to Mossbury. She wasn't that adamant about it, but that was the one she kept pushing. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do this one this time, and it's different because the whole hike is along a railroad.
I know, it's so cool.
Yeah, so you've done it before.
Yeah, I've done it. I think I've done it twice, and I want to do it again because it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and the payoff once you get up there is great, is gorgeous, and it can be a little scary because it's narrow next to the train tracks. And
did you have a train come your way when you were hiking?
So what happened is we got up to the falls, never saw any train, and it's also like it's the mountains, so you're kind of curving
Yeah.
along, so you can't really see the train from very far away. You don't have a whole
You
lot
just
of time
hear
to get
the
out
train,
of the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully you hear it before you feel it, and that's how you.
Yeah, when you feel it, you just kind of hit the deck.
Yeah.
Well, you don't hit the deck on
Well,
the
you
tracks,
can kind of get
but
down out. It's easy to get down out of the way. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like.
It's just scary because you're just like, holy cow.
Yeah. So we got up to the top, and it's not actually, you don't climb at all. You
It's
probably go
pretty much
down
just a
more.
walk, and then you go down, and
Down
it's like,
to
hey,
the
there's the falls.
waterfall, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we got to the waterfalls, and we spent a long time down there. There were a lot more people. We didn't see any people on the way up.
Yeah, I've never walked with someone or like had someone come back, but there's always a bunch of people down like at the waterfall.
Yeah, like they just come out of the out from under the rocks and stuff.
Hello.
Yeah.
We are the water dwellers. Nah.
Yeah. But yeah, we spent a lot of time down by the water, and then I kind of went off on my own, like upstream a little bit,
Okay.
and climbed out onto a rock and sat there and waited for everybody to finish because the water was freezing.
Oh,
cold.
it is so cold. It is so cold.
It's like straight from snow. It's
definitely.
It's ice water.
It is freezing. It's like because the river is about like 50. It's very cold. This water is just right above freezing temperature. It is so cold.
Yeah, it probably doesn't freeze because it's moving.
Yeah,
but but everybody else was getting in the water, and I don't deal with the cold that well. I didn't even like putting my feet in it because it was so cold.
Very
so
cold. It hurts.
It does. So I like went out and kind of sunbathed on a rock.
There you go.
Out under the bridge that is right next to the waterfall, right?
Yeah,
the bridge that the train goes over. So I was kind of under the bridge, and then a train came by.
Oh,
and
that's probably pretty cool and also a little scary.
But then it stopped.
That happens
in front of us. So right when we wanted to leave, we were stuck, cornered by a train, and then the other group that was down there with us, they came up, and so then we ended up walking back with them. Mm-hmm. We didn't socialize with them a whole lot, but we did. They did point out a snake to us.
Ooh, cool.
I think it was red, yellow, black.
Okay.
So it was either a coral snake or a king snake, right?
King snakes I thought were white and black.
That's what I thought. Somebody was telling me it was a king snake, and I had always heard that the two are coral and milk snakes that look the same.
Because I know king snakes, I just saw one last night actually. Me and my dad were playing ping pong, and then he went to go get a ball, and then he was just like, ah! And I was like, whoa, Dad, what's going on? He's like, oh, there's a snake? It's like, oh, it's fine, it's just a king snake.
It's a snake?
That's okay.
Yeah.
Ruh-roh.
But,
yeah, they're white and black, though, not usually red. But
Okay,
I
that's
don't
what I
know
thought.
that much about snakes. So.
Okay, well, so you don't know the rhyme then?
No.
Okay, because there's a rhyme to
I know
tell
if
you.
it has a rattle, you run
Yes.
away. Or you bring a shovel.
Yeah.
That one rhyme.
And then you can bury yourself once you got bit.
Yes, just time to die.
Yeah. But,
Yikes.
but, no, there's a rhyme, and it's either like, yellow touches black, you're all right, Jack. Yellow or black touches red,
You're dead.
You're dead. That's the gist of it. But I don't know if it's, I don't remember which is which. I got kind of all the words there, but I don't know if they're in the right place. So I don't know if
there
I was
are colors and there are life and death.
Yeah. So I don't know if I was in mortal peril. If I remember correctly, it was yellow, black on this snake that I saw. Mm-hmm. So if anybody listening, all two of you, knows the rhyme correctly, you can tell me if I was in danger.
Put it in the comment section below.
Yeah. Yeah. But one interesting thing that did happen while the train was up there was it stopped and it didn't move very quickly.
No, very slow.
I was actually genuinely tempted to get on it and let it carry us back.
I thought of doing that once too, but I was really scared because I knew if I jumped and I missed it, I could lose any limb. Yeah. The one thing I did do though is when we heard a train coming, we set a penny on the track so it got flattened into the track.
Oh, nice.
Which is really cool. I don't know if you've ever done that, but that's really fun.
I've not done that. That would have been cool.
It's a good time.
I thought about getting it stopped for a long time, maybe 30 minutes, and I thought about getting on top of it, walking on top of it as long as we could,
like
and
Lone
then,
Ranger style.
Yeah, and then as soon as it started moving, like get off because it takes a while to get moving.
Yeah, it doesn't just go.
But that is just genuinely a bad idea.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
No, don't. Unless you really, really want to. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Don't do it.
We did get to tag it though. Tag
That's
one of the
cool.
cars. No spray paint. We used, somebody for some reason had like markers or like felt tip pens.
Nice.
So that's what we used.
Little Crayola washables, just like Brendan was here.
Yeah. Window paint or something. No, I don't know. But we waited for it to leave, but the group that was down there with us, they actually walked alongside it while it was stopped. And right when they got around the corner, it left and started to leave. And we were like, uh-oh, what happened? And so then it left, and we were following it behind, and it like got ahead of us and left. And then we saw like down the bank, like towards the river, because the train tracks follow the river the whole way.
Yeah.
They crawled up from the river and came back up onto the thing, because like they got out of the way of the train, obviously. Yeah. Nobody got hurt, but yeah, so that was interesting. But that one is also, I don't know, the payoff is good, but I probably on the way there and back had the not least, but a less enjoyable time than I would on hikes where it's a steep incline.
Yeah.
Because the foundation of the train tracks is like sharp rocks.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good to
even
walk
if you're
on.
wearing tennis shoes, it hurts. And then if you want to walk on the train tracks and on the struts.
There's like
whatever the things that connect it.
The wooden ties, part, and then there's the metal part that the train.
Yeah, the railroad ties.
Gotcha.
Even if you walk on those, it's like they're too close together for you to take them one at a time comfortably.
But they're too far apart for you to take like the big step.
Yeah. Unless you. Yeah. So you have to watch the train tracks the whole time you're walking on them, instead of like the gorgeous scenery. Which you can. You can look up everywhere. It's like there's nothing stopping you, but if you keep moving. So I got a little like nauseous from just watching these railroad tracks the whole way back, but it was still enjoyable. It's still a gorgeous place, but the terrain I was moving down and the fact that the train was so close and could have showed up at any moment was the reason I did not take my dog on that one.
I wouldn't take an animal on that one.
Yeah.
Although you found a snake, but while we were there, we found a baby duckling.
Just one on its own?
Yeah, just one on its own.
Oh, no.
And we thought like, oh no, it got abandoned by its mom. So we basically like we picked it up and we put it in a we just ate it. Raw. We didn't cook it. We just no, but what we did is we put it in our little coat pocket and we just waited for its mom to come around. It was really cold that day. I think because we hiked it in like November and it's in a mountain area, so it's very, very cold. And we just started walking around and eventually like fell asleep in our coat pockets.
That's adorable.
Yeah, we ended up taking it home, and then the next morning we woke up and it was not alive anymore. But hey, I know I feel
that's probably
really
why
bad.
it was on its own. That makes me sad.
I think so. It was very sad. I wanted to lie about the ending of that story, but if I knew my sister watched it, she'd be like, "That's not true."
That reminds me of a different story regarding ducklings, where
ducklings.
where my neighbor showed up at my. This was when me and my sister were little kids, and she showed up at my door, and gave us a pair of ducklings that she had found in her neighbor's garage.
What?
And I may be misremembering this, but from what it sounds is she didn't think that they should have been keeping the ducklings in their garage, and that they may have been like abusing the ducklings, or I don't know. This is
duckling abuse.
Yeah. So this is what I remember, and I think one of them may have had like a bad leg or something. Like it could still walk and stuff, but it kind of limped a little bit. So I don't know what led her to steal these ducklings out of her neighbor's garage and then give them to us. But we were like, I don't know how to take care of ducklings. What do they even eat? So we had a rabbit at the time who at night stayed in a rabbit hutch, but we had a pin that we would put the rabbit out in the yard in the daytime. And so we were like, okay, well, let's just house the ducklings in this backyard pin. And so we put the ducklings in there, and we didn't want, we gave them like water and I don't know, some lettuce. I still don't know what they eat, but
they eat like bugs and stuff like that.
But we didn't want anything to get like in it, so we didn't know what to put on top, so we just took some towels and draped them over the top.
Yeah.
But we live on a green belt, so there's a creek that runs behind our house and some woods, and so there are animals out there that would think like, oh, some tasty ducklings in a cage,
or just like a falcon coming above, like
lunch. So we figured the towel would, it would keep them out of sight from birds above, and it would discourage animals from trying to jump into it because they would like see that it's covered. I don't know. That was our thinking, but that night it rained pretty heavily.
Oof.
Which we figured ducks like water, they're okay. But then the rain soaked the towels and caved one of them in.
Oh.
And then the next morning we woke up to duckling bits in the yard.
Oof.
Yeah, it was sad.
Yeah, ducklings. It's sad when ducklings die, but I mean, there's not really. At least in situations like that, nothing you can really do except for maybe, I don't know, leave them in your neighbor's garage.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We probably should have put like a box over the top. I don't know, but
it's hard though. Like when it rains, what do you do?
But now we have for a little while, a few years after that, we had a pair of ducks, male and female duck that lived in our yard for a little while. They just voluntarily lived in our yard.
Oh, nice.
And currently we have a pair of doves that have made a nest in one of the trees, and they have a single egg in the nest. So I'm hoping to see
little family.
Yeah. I'm hoping to see a doveling soon. I don't know if that's what they're called, but that's what I'm going to call it.
I have no idea what a baby dove is, but doveling is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's all of my stories about baby birds.
Oh, you don't have any more?
I don't. Not
Dang
that I can
it.
think of. I found a baby bird once on a high school field trip at a rest stop.
Ooh.
And everybody was like circling it, and I was like, just leave it be. Leave it alone.
It's nature.
Yeah, it'll figure itself out. There, yeah. I found an extra one.
There we
I
go.
dig
Nice.
deep for that one, but there you go.
Yeah. Another thing I know you're interested in, and it's sort of right why we started the podcast, is just filmmaking. Mm-hmm. So, like, what exactly? I think we've sort of talked about this in the past, but what exactly do you like? What is your goal when it comes to filmmaking?
Yeah, a goal. I don't know. We have several friends, including yourself, that actually want to get professionally into it. Definitely. In some sense of the word. So I don't really see myself ever doing that.
Yeah.
I'd like to contribute to society in a more tangible way.
Yeah.
No offense,
thanks.
but
so I'm not contributing by giving you my beautiful acting skills. I see how it is.
No, I don't mean any offense.
Sure. No.
Obviously, I love filmmaking because that's what we're talking about here, or that's what we talk about a lot here. But I'd like to get into it as a hobby. Yeah. In my history with it, I've been lurking on YouTube for years. Like an embarrassingly long amount of time.
Definitely. I'm the exact same way.
Yeah. And then one of the things I found on YouTube and on the internet in general was podcasts about comic book movies, which is kind of what inspired me to talk to you about doing this one.
Yeah. And hey, we're doing it.
Yeah. And then those podcasts talked about pretty much comic book movies exclusively, but then they broke down really the storytelling of it, and then that kind of made me interested in more media of storytelling. Yeah. So just other kinds of movies, books, just other things. Also just high school literature classes. Yeah. Because I looked at movies in a very analytic and storytelling oriented way. Mm-hmm. I did pretty well in those classes, and usually when you're good at something, you tend to like it. Yeah. So I ended up liking those, and then in my first semester of college, I took a history of film class, which was very loose. Very great. It was a great class, but very loose, and that really kind of got me interested in films from a more artistic standpoint.
Yeah, I like taking film classes and then appreciating a movie not more for its storytelling, although like that is a very definitely important aspect of a film, but just seeing like not everything from color grading to just the different placement of the camera and the different angles. Like it makes it like taking a film class can make you appreciate something so much more. Even it doesn't even have to be like it doesn't have to be a movie. It can be a graphic novel, comic book, anything like that. You really learn to appreciate more.
Yeah, and one of the things I did learn to appreciate more was the silent era of film.
Oh, definitely.
It's a lot cooler than I thought. And
Yeah.
then kind of the more innovative stuff that's going on now, I didn't like that much.
I know all the CG and everything when it's like, well, look at the. Although CG, there's great things that come out of CG.
Yeah, there's good stuff that it can lead to. I think that's a good area of innovation, and the technology will just become more interesting as it goes on. I still have a really big appreciation for practical effects.
Oh, I love
if you can
practical
pull that
effects.
off, that's just a pull for me in a movie. If a movie's touting good practical effects, that makes me want to see it more, even if I know nothing else about the movie.
Well, I mean, like you get these like big old monsters that are just like awesome to see in CG, like the Transformers and stuff like that. But just going back and seeing like just the zombies on The Walking Dead that are done they're so gross. But most of them are all just makeup. Mm-hmm. There are certain ones, like the ones where there's like missing limbs and stuff like that. They usually don't find people that have missing limbs to play those zombies. That's done with CG, but that's like kind of allowable CG for me. Like Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump, that sort of stuff is allowed because like you can't just make a guy have legs and then like chop off the actor's legs. That's just you can't do that.
It's unethical, just a little bit. I mean, sometimes you can, given the circumstances.
If you can physically do it, then that's really cool.
It's cool. I love amputation.
Yes.
No.
Well, I mean, if you find an amputee, if you're just like, hey, you want to be in a movie,
and they're cool with it, then that's all good stuff. Yeah. But that kind of gave me a greater appreciation for films in general, and I just kind of wanted to get into it as a hobby.
Yeah.
Not something that if I can make money off of it, cool.
Yeah.
But it's not like my life goal.
Yeah. You know? You don't want to make filmmaking your career.
Right. Okay. But then you seemed to have some questions prepared for me. I didn't know that was what we were doing today, but
no, I'm coming up with these on the spot for the most part. Yeah.
Okay, well, great improv. Did you take a class? No.
I wish. I recently, because I love improv. I love like Whose Line Is It Anyway? All of those things. I love it, and some of like the best comedy comes from improv. And I just kind of, there's like all these websites online that are all centered around improv practices, or well, not really practices, but just different skits and stuff you can do to prepare yourself more for improv. It's just different ways to practice the art of improv. And some of them just really get my mind going, because there was this one I saw recently. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it is an interview that you do, but you don't start it with like, oh, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Tonight Show with blah, blah, blah. No, but you start it from the end and you work your way backwards. So you have to play off of each other. So if you have like one person who's playing the host, if they just start laughing like crazy, then the person has to reply with either a joke or they just have to do something really funny, and the entire thing builds from the end of the show and it goes to the beginning. And it's really cool, and I really want to try that because that's super fun. Like that's awesome. I love it.
That does sound really cool.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to do it. I've not heard of before.
Yeah, like there's so many improv like I was just looking like at that list. There's literally like just for numbers, like things that are technique. What's the word I'm looking for? Just skits. I'm gonna go skits. Like skits that just start with their title is a number. There's like 50 of those, and there's just thousands of different skits that you can do to practice improv, and they are so cool.
That does sound really cool.
I want to try like all of them.
Yeah.
Although some of them are really lame. They're just like dumb things where you like clap in a circle and then you like start a little rhyme and then you have to add to the rhyme. And it's like that helps, but not as much as something that's like where you really have to think hard.
Yeah, doesn't make it as clever. Yeah. It doesn't nurture the cleverness of it.
Yeah,
as
definitely.
Much. That does sound like fun though. That would be fun to try. I've thought that when it's done well, it's really entertaining.
Oh, there's bad improv. There is some bad stuff.
Well, yeah, I last summer I was doing an internship for. Well, you were doing it too. I brought you in on that. The Access
local,
TV channel.
The little TV, the local TV channel. What am I looking for?
Access.
Community access. There it is. Yep, you got it the first time. I don't know. I was trying so hard to add the word community in front of that.
No, it's all good. But were you there when we covered the improv, the local improv group?
No, I just missed that one. I wasn't available for that. I wanted to see it, but how was that?
I don't want to say their name or the name of the organization, or just to.
But the local improv group.
Yeah, the local improv group. They were. They were funny sometimes, but a lot of it just seemed like they thought they were funny.
Yeah.
And they thought that everybody should have been laughing.
Yeah.
And that we are great. Like,
Yeah.
you guys
look
don't
at
know
us
comedy.
improvers. We
Yeah.
are so funny.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of the rap that improv gets.
I think a lot of improv people, like, I feel like there's an episode of some show, I don't know, there is improv involved heavily. It was something I saw on Netflix. It would have either been 30 Rock or, like, Lady Dynamite. I don't know. Have you ever seen Lady Dynamite? Mm-mm. I definitely recommend that show. It is fantastic. It is crazy, weird. There's Patton Oswalt, and that's all you need to know.
I love that.
But anyway, there's like this like golden book of improv. Or no, it might have been BoJack Horseman. It was BoJack Horseman.
Wait, was it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wait. So what?
It was. Oh, so Todd goes. Todd. Okay, anyway, I don't need to talk about that. If you've seen the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, just think of all of these specific names as just either people or animals. You get to choose. So Todd goes and
I do remember this.
Yeah, he goes to the improv place, and there's like the one dude is like a fat like cat like leader, and he's just like, yes, I am the master of improv. But it turns out he's got like a book that like tells him how to be funny. Just well, that show's so clever.
That was also a slight at Scientology, right?
Yeah, there was a little bit. It made it like improv was a cult, and they like had to like there was all these like different entrance things, and then they even went back to I forget what the event is called, but where the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid came from.
Oh no, the Jonestown.
The Jonestown thing. Yeah. They had a little thing where they all like.
Oh, yeah. I missed that. I'll have to go back and watch it.
That show's so good.
I love that. Whenever the new season comes out, I start from the beginning until I get
to
the new season.
I did that with Flaked. I don't know. Have you seen Flaked?
Mm-hmm.
I may have brought
is that the other Will Arnett show?
The other Will Arnett show.
I saw it. I thought about watching it. I never actually did.
It's actually really good. I just saw season 2 just came out like a week or two ago, as of the time of recording this podcast, and it's fantastic. Like,
okay.
See, there's only like probably 12 episodes total. It doesn't take that long to watch. It is just so well done, though.
Okay, maybe I'll check it out.
Definitely recommend.
Yeah, American Gods just ended, and that's what I was watching.
I haven't seen that
recently. It's really good.
Cool.
I definitely recommend that one, but I'll check out Flaked next, I think.
Yeah, Flaked is fun.
Okay.
Well, it's also really sad. It's like it's a comedy. It's marketed as a comedy.
It's kind of how all of Will Arnett stuff is.
I know.
Like, it just gets sadder.
Even BoJack Horseman, like it starts out. It's so funny. Like the first few episodes are just hilarious. All the jokes are these dumb like little one-liners.
Well, they are, but like even the first few episodes, you can see how dark it goes. Like Todd throws a quinceañera because he's being beaten by the cartels, and then like BoJack has a panic attack that puts him in the hospital. It's like. Funny jokes.
But I mean, like thinking back on it, like that's not. It's not about like the dark stuff that happens. It's when it gets like really real. Like just seeing the struggles that he goes through like internally the entire time throughout that show. Yeah. And just everything. And then I mean, then you get those dumb little like I forget what's her name? It's the secretary. It's Princess Carolyn and her boyfriend Vincent Adult Man.
Oh yeah, it's just so like where does that happen?
It's so good.
The director of BoJack Horseman is doing a new movie soon.
Oh really?
It's like a kids movie though. I think. Oh, I don't remember what it is.
Cool.
I'll have to check that out and get back to you on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but speaking of BoJack Horseman and other cartoons and stuff.
Yeah.
I came up with the first one about improv was supposed to be a joke question, but that actually turned out to be a real question. So good on that. But so for the other one, one of my favorite things to do is take people in my life and figure out what the first interaction I had with them. And I actually can't remember.
I actually can't remember either.
Okay. Well, if one of us remembers that, we'll bring that up again. But one of the earliest interactions I remember having with you was talking about voice acting. Yeah. And I know that's actually what you want to get into.
That is the like pinnacle. Like if I ever made it as a voice actor, like if I was constantly in cartoons, movies, video games, or just commercials, like if that's where I was, that's where I want to be. Like that would be it. Like I made it. Like that's my goal. I don't care about the money I'm making. It's all about what I'm doing at that point, and that's what I really want to do.
Yeah. That would be really cool because I mean I love voice acting. That's another thing just about filmmaking and storytelling in general.
Yeah,
voice acting is a severely underrated art form, and I was wondering what got you into that. Like,
well, what really got me into it is it's kind of funny because honestly, like most kids, I did not know what the heck I wanted to be ever. I remember in kindergarten, I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I learned that you had to do a lot of physical activity and stuff like that, and I was like, and you had to be really smart to be an astronaut too. I was like, that seems like a lot to go down.
You gotta be ripped. You gotta be like a genius, and you gotta have like, perfect vision.
And your reflexes have to be crazy fast.
You basically have to be. You have to also have to be like really positive and charismatic. You have to be a perfect person.
You have to be a superhuman to be an astronaut. And I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. And then I know in freshman year and sophomore year, I sort of thought about like wanting to be a lawyer. I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of money behind that. And my uncle, who's a lawyer, he was like, never be a lawyer.
It has like one of the lowest happiness indexes.
Sucks. Yeah. I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be a lawyer. And then I met some defense attorneys, and I was just like, you know what? I hate these people. And I was like, I want to be a defense attorney because they make the money. And then I was like, I hate it. I couldn't do it. And then I watched this documentary on Netflix called I Know That Voice, and it was done by John DiMaggio, the guy who voices Bender.
And Jake the dog, right?
Jake the dog from Adventure Time.
As well as numerous other...
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
He's got amazing. A million voices, and it was just all about him. It was about Kevin Conroy, Batman, from Batman the Animated Series. It had Mark Hamill for a little bit. It had is it Lisa Cartwright who voices, or Nancy Cartwright who voices Bart Simpson, and it had all of these different people, just people I love. It had Mel Blanc's brother, Mel Blanc's son, the guy who voiced all of the Looney Tunes. Yeah. Mel Blanc was the guy who voiced all the Looney Tunes, his son, who also is the voice of Bugs Bunny, because they have really similar voices, which is really cool. But I don't know. Basically, to round that up, I just learned about all these people, and I was like, wow, that is so cool. And I just thought about, there's this one comedian I love. He does impressions. His name is Frank Caliendo. And I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he just does these perfect like George Bush impressions. His big one is John Madden, and that was one of the first impressions I ever tried to do. And my voice wasn't deep enough to do it, so I was just like, one day I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna have a really deep voice, and that really deep voice is gonna make me do the John Madden impression right, because when I hear it in my brain, it sounds good. And I just put all of that together, and I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. I want to be a voice actor. I want to be a cartoon voice, and now that's where I'm shooting for. I also love like on stage acting as well. I love theater. I prefer acting in front of a camera. That's just what I'm most comfortable with, even though it doesn't seem like it. If you've ever filmed anything with me, it doesn't seem like I'm comfortable in front of a camera. So I need to improve upon that. But I really enjoy camera acting more than stage, just because they both have different feels. But yeah, voice acting overall though, that's my goal. Like that's what I really want to do.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I think. I thought about it, but again, it's a thing that I didn't think I was ever gonna pursue as like a career.
Yeah.
But Mark Hamill, I think, was the one who thought, like, I saw it and I was like, that guy is amazing. What he does is incredible.
I would love to be like Mark Hamill. Like start off as freaking Luke Skywalker, and then I don't have to be like a big role like that, but to start off on stage, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I want to try and do the voice for a character in Batman the Animated Series, and then all the directors, the guys are like, I don't know who you really would be right for. Try being freaking, I forget, he was some minor characters first, and then the original voice of the Joker left the show after the first season, because there wasn't Mark Hamill for the first...
I didn't know that, because he's like in the second episode, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like the second episode is all about Joker. And then, it sounds just like him. I forget his name, but they have slightly different voices. And then Mark Hamill tried to be the Joker, and he didn't just try, he succeeded. He's the guy I think of every time.
I feel like anyone who's seen that iteration of the Joker is that is the default
iteration. That's the one that hits you. You don't think of Heath Ledger did an amazing performance as his own Joker. It's not the Joker that I think of when I think of the Joker.
It was a different take.
But I love them. I love The Dark Knight. It's one of my favorite movies ever. But I'm never going to look at a Batman comic and read the Joker's voice as... let's put a smile on that face. It's always going to be Mark Hamill's big laugh and everything. And I love that.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's another one of the big inspirations that brought me to I want to be a voice actor. I want to do that.
That is really cool.
That is very fun.
Because he is probably the most memorable part of that show, right?
Definitely. I would say he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he showed up in as the Fire Lord in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes.
And that sold me. I was like, this guy's amazing.
and
what he does is amazing.
Yeah.
And then he shows up in a whole lot of the English dubs of a lot of Miyazaki's movies.
Yeah.
And then like he's just I think it was a combination of how amazing he is and how pervasive he is in the stuff that I like.
Yeah.
That
he's also in Scooby-Doo. Like, I don't know. Do you ever see Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island?
Yes.
Do you remember? Do you remember like I forget? It's like either Crawdad Scruggs or like Scrawdad Krugs. I don't know. The guy who had the dog and he was all like really angry and he was just like, darn tourists. Like that's all he basically
probably.
said.
I do.
He had his own little like fishing boat and everything, and you thought he was gonna be the bad guy, but he was. Anyway, that was Mark Hamill, so that was cool. It was cool that he came in and he was that. And he's also Skips in regular show.
I did know that one. That one is really cool.
And I love that. I just love that he doesn't sound like him ever. Even although when you realize like, oh, that's Mark Hamill, you can totally hear it every single time. Because it's just like,
once you recognize him, yeah. And that like, I feel like that's kind of you get into. It's like an actor that you recognize in every role, and you're like that actor is great. I know people that really like Michael Cera. Yeah. I just saw a movie with Kate McKinnon in it last night, and they're all always solid in the stuff that they do. Yeah. But I think there's also something to be said for voice actors where they're in so many things and you can't recognize them. Because then that's kind of like the pinnacle of where you can get with that.
Like, one of the things I love is one of the things I love about being a voice actor, period, is a lot of people, they can't recognize you. Like, if I ever made it and I was never really in front of the camera, people wouldn't go over and be like, oh, hey, you're so-and-so from that cartoon I love. They'd just see a guy and they'd be like, ew. Like, I forget who voices Wacko from... I forget which Wacko from the Animaniacs. He was in line at like I think like Universal Studios for a ride, and he saw a kid with an Animaniac shirt, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I voiced Wacko on that show." And then the kid was like, he looked up and down, and this dude, he has really long hair, really long beard, definitely looks like he was in a metal band at one point, and I think he was. So you don't think of him as having that like type of voice. And so the kid goes, "No, you're not." And he was like, "Well, I am." And he's like, "Prove it." So he does like a perfect, like, he does the voice and he's like, "I can do a better impression than that." And it's like, screw that kid. But also, that's awesome that you can go out, be that voice, be that character, and no one would ever know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is really cool.
Although I think like, sorry to interrupt you.
No, don't worry about it.
But like the pinnacle of like blending in, like the chameleon of voice acting is when you can have that really recognizable voice and then have some other voices that no one ever knows it's you.
Yeah.
Like Nolan North and Tom Kenny are the perfect voices for me. Like, cause Nolan North, he is Nathan Drake from Uncharted. Like that is basically his normal voice. He's also Winnie the Pooh in a lot of Winnie the Pooh cartoons.
I did not know
he
that.
He is Dr. Richtofen from the Call of Duty, like the Zombies games. That's him. And he's also the Penguin in Arkham Asylum, or Arkham City and Arkham Knight.
Okay, I didn't know all of those roles. I knew the Nathan Drake. I was introduced to him through Young Justice. He did Superboy,
He was Superboy. And he sounds like Nathan Drake. Like, it's basically just his voice.
Yeah.
But he also has those other voices, like Richtofen and, what was the second one I said? I don't remember. Okay, let me just think of what he said.
The Penguin.
He's the Penguin. He's Richtofen, and shoot, what is Winnie the Pooh?
Oh yeah, the most like out of the like outlier one. There was. Yeah.
Well, for the most part, Jim Cummings, he is Tigger and Winnie the Pooh, and I forget what else Jim Cummings does. He does a lot of voices, but Nolan North for a while was Winnie the Pooh, which is kind of crazy to think of as like, well, hey, it's Nathan Drake, the Uncharted guy, the modern Indiana Jones. But also, he's the bear that loves honey.
Yeah. That is really weird. The best name associated with a voice that I don't know if he's around anymore, but he sang the original...
Chocolate Rain? Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Chocolate Rain. No, he sang the original, what was it? The Grinch. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. He sang that.
What's his name?
It's so okay. I know
it's
what
not,
it is.
It's not okay.
Thorogood Ravencroft.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, where did that guy come from? Is this guy?
He's crazy.
He's amazing. I don't know anything about him other than his name and that song. I think I've heard him in other songs and stuff too. He did a lot of Disney stuff.
He was pretty much
That name is like, I hear that name and I'm like, whoa, that's like...
It sounds like a vampire, like, superhero kind of guy.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's so weird. I feel like I'm in, like Central Europe in turn of the century.
He's got
time.
like a palace. Like, not a palace, a castle, because that's more of European. He's just...
Yeah, he's like a secret wizard or something.
Yeah.
Hello, you're a mean one.
Yeah.
Get out of my castle.
But yeah, I mean, I know that when you have done acting stuff like that, you're usually on stage.
Definitely.
Or in front of the camera.
Well, what really brought me into wanting or even believing that I could pursue that career, because I always for the last probably 5 years, I've been I want to be a voice actor, and definitely for the last 2, definitely 100%. But what brought me into the idea that I could actually do it was actually doing musicals on stage for school.
Yeah, and you were great at that. That was really cool.
It was really fun, and I had no idea that I would be any good at it, because I always thought, you know what, yeah, I'd be really good at doing plays and stuff. I'd be great. But I was always, and then people would be like, oh, so why didn't you try? I was like, I don't.
Well, I can't do that.
I have things to do. I have sleeping to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what really brought me into it, and then I got so much support through that of both from my family and friends, where I just was like, okay, you know what, I think I can do it. And then after listening to so many people talk about how they got into acting by listening to Howard Stern's interviews and just different interviews from other podcasts and shows I would watch, I was like, well, I gotta just go all in. And most people don't go all in for a few years.
Yeah.
And I just thought, if I start off going all in for acting, that's the best odds I'm going to have. And sure, there are 10 million people just sitting in Los Angeles wanting to do the exact same thing. But I hope
the real population of Los Angeles?
No, Los Angeles has I think a population of 3.5 million.
Okay, I didn't know.
There's a lot.
Thank you for knowing.
I know when I was in 3rd grade, which was quite a few years ago now, it was about 3 million. It was about 3 million was the population of LA. So I bet it's probably a little bit higher than that now. It could be even significantly higher. But
okay.
Yeah, it's around there.
Okay, cool. But no, yeah, I always remember you being in front of people, and you did the production of 12 Angry Men. Were you in that one?
No, actually, I was never in a spring play. I tried to be. The school that both of us went to, the high school both of us went to, there was a fall musical and there was a spring play. And I was almost in one of our productions of 12 Angry Men, but then I was like, that just sounds really boring and dumb, and I don't want to do that. So then I did the fall musical the following year. And then I almost did, there was another, what was it? It was the one with the... I can't remember what it's called. It was the one they did just two.
They did The Odd Couple.
That was what it was.
Okay.
It was The Odd Couple. And I was going to do it, and then the teacher who was doing that, I don't know, there's a lot I'd have to go into.
There's politics and
I don't
stuff.
want to go. Lots of school politics and stuff where I ended up not being able to do that show. And then after that, I had such a horrible experience with that I was never going to do anything with any of those teachers ever again. Which is that's not really something I'd like to talk about, just because.
No, of course, yeah.
Bad blood.
Yeah.
But I just did the fall musicals and stuff.
Okay, yeah, because I knew I saw you in the fall musicals, and I did the stage crew for those.
Yeah.
So I was involved, but I wasn't part of the performance other than this curtain went up.
Yeah. Well, and thanks to Brendan Madison, who did curtain number 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did the main curtain. You did the cool one, didn't you?
No. Well, sometimes I did. That wasn't. I was flyboy number 2. Oh, you were kidding? Okay, so
no.
I did do the main curtain. I did the most important curtain.
No, I know I at least saw you do the main curtain once or twice. I don't remember exactly. I mostly just remember you pulling on lots of different ropes, and I don't know what the heck any of them do, because I've never done stage crew.
The big curtain, the main one was
that one's on the side of the stage, and then the rest of them are all
well, they're all on the side of the
stage.
stage.
Are they all on the side? I thought there was one.
Well,
no, there's a sandbag there.
Yeah.
The one closer to the front.
And I had to push somebody out of that one time because it was
I remember that. I saw that. That was cool.
But no, that one was scary because I would pull on it and then you have to stop it with your strength. So I'd pull on it and then a few times it would lift me off the ground. And then I have to wait to come back down. But
were you a part of when, because you were on Cinderella, you did?
Yes, I was on that one.
Were you one of the people that had when the fairy godmother was flying?
I held her up, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That was my job, yeah. That was cool. I was scared though, because if I didn't do it right, she fell.
Yeah.
That was a scary job. But,
I know, I don't know why. I don't know how she was so comfortable doing that.
Yeah,
just sitting on a bench and then just, all right, so we're going to lift you up about 20 feet in the air. Is that cool? Yeah.
Yeah, no seatbelt or anything. She's just kind of leaning back.
Yeah.
Okay. But,
okay, daddy.
But Yeah, so that's where I was. But for the spring play and for a few videos that I've done, I was a voice, and that was because I knew the director. I had taken a lot of her classes, and it was not a singing class. It was a music class.
Yeah.
But we weren't using our voices. I don't know why that happened, but she would have me read stuff for the class when need be, and then she had me do narrations for the plays, and then through that I ended up becoming one of the school announcers.
Yeah.
And so that was all really fun, and where I got to use my voice, which was something I didn't know I was able to do.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And usually when I do things, I'm not on the stage or in front of the camera. I am behind, and it's only my voice that's heard. And so that was cool. Voice acting. Going back to voice acting, it's a fun thing to do.
It is really fun.
I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to do what I have been able to do, and I would like to do more in the future. But obviously, like you'll probably be more successful than myself.
It's all about just going all out for it and then learning. Well, meeting people. Like, it's all based on connections and just getting lucky at one time.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten lucky yet, but soon, maybe, hopefully. But going back, you said how you would be the person who would read a lot in classes, and I was always the person that teachers wanted me to read a lot in classes because they always told me, like, oh, well, we know you want to be a voice actor, so you got to go ahead and do it. And I never really did it just because it was like, there's a difference between being a voice actor and doing a project you like doing, like whether it's one of my impression videos on YouTube or reading in class, is that I am so tired and not wanting to do anything in school.
Yeah.
I am not that way when I'm behind the camera or, well, behind the microphone.
When you're working on a project.
Yeah, when I'm on a project. So I never really read except for this one time where if you go back on my YouTube channel, if you're coming... I'm going to cut that out. If you're coming here from my YouTube channel, the one of the videos I have on there is the Dr. Frankenphil video. And I did that sophomore year for a project. And then my teacher, he said, like, well, you are now Dr. Phil. And for everything you have to read, you will read it as Dr. Phil. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I read a lot that year.
Yeah.
Because my teacher would be like, all right, so this section from Julius Caesar will be read by Jonathan. You will be reading that as Dr. Phil. Oh, okay. What are you thinking?
It's pretty good. Did he know you could do that before he...
No, I didn't know I could do it. Basically, I was just like, hey, well, because the whole entire project was, okay, so you can either do a comic book or you can do a video where Dr. Phil interviews the monster and Dr. Frankenstein. And I was like, well, I can do impressions. Well, I didn't know I could do them, but I was like, I want to do them. So I got a bald cap, I got a gray blazer, and a mustache that did not stick on my face. And I just tried to talk like Dr. Phil.
In every shot,
oh my gosh, there are some... After a while, we're just like, okay, pause it, and then I'm just going to flip the mustache over here. And then it'll just be like, here's your own sweat and tears. And then it just go on.
That's funny. Yeah, no, when I would be asked to read something for the class or the school or anything like that, then I usually went like into character, and really the only thing I knew how to do was like a radio announcer or something. Like if somebody asked me to do something,
that's always the first voice you do. It's not like you don't start going like SpongeBob and be like, I'm ready. Ah! No, you go into like, that was really bad. Sorry. You go down and like, good morning, everybody. This is channel 978.24.
Yeah,
smooth jazz.
Yeah. I think I did maybe like a 1920s like radio guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was a request that somebody had made. But then I have radios where I work, and I like to communicate with people, and it was a slow day, so one of my managers asked me to do Steve Harvey, and they don't know what my voice sounds like other than my speaking voice. So I was like, give me anything, I'll do it. And they gave me that, and I like bombed it, and it was awful. Everybody on the radio just
I've never even tried to do Steve Harvey before.
Well, the thing is like, unless I hear it right before I do it, I don't know what they sound like.
I don't know. I can't even remember what Steve Harvey sounds like, except for just like, I don't know. I just picture him laughing at people after he makes a little joke. And
I don't even think
Connecticut.
he laughs.
That's it.
He doesn't even. I don't know. Most of his most of an impression for him is his facial expressions, or his physical reactions.
I just know he does a lot of that, like where he backs out of the way, and because he'll like say something, and then somebody will be like, because I always picture him on Price is Right, or not Price is Right, Family Feud. Sorry, he'll do Family Feud, and then someone will say something like boobies, and then he'll just go, what?
He's all of a sudden Tim Allen.
Yeah. Home Improvement.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely voice acting is something I want to do. But since filmmaking isn't really what career you want to get into, what is the... Do you have an idea on what career you want to follow or pursue?
That's a big question.
Well, yeah,
I know what you mean.
I'm not expecting you to have like a perfect answer. I was just like, yeah.
Yeah, so right now I'm studying sociology, which doesn't have much of a career. Like the basic career that you have as a sociology major is sociology professor. Mm-hmm. Like unless you get like a doctorate and stay in academia, I don't have much of an idea what I would be doing. But it's a subject I have interest in, one that I think is applicable and useful in the world today. So that's kind of where I'm going. But I decided on that from really loving history. Mm-hmm. I loved learning about history, and like just the other day, we're on summer vacation right now, and I was watching educational history videos on YouTube for fun. Like, this is how much I'm into this kind of stuff, and I was like, this is amazing. I love this. I just love learning.
I love learning.
Yeah.
Give me more history.
So that's what I was. I said, well, what do I do with history? The closest thing that I think might be useful is sociology, and then from sociology I found that I really loved anthropology, which is kind of an offshoot of both.
Yeah.
But it's also not the widest or the broadest like net I can throw in terms of how I can use this to sustain myself.
Yeah.
So sociology is what I'm studying right now, and probably what I'll end up with in the future, doing something along those lines. I'd love to get into kind of city management almost, not or just kind of be involved on a small level, not necessarily holding a position in government, but having some community influence.
I've always thought that would be that'd be really cool.
And so that's kind of where I'd like to go.
Yeah.
Don't know how or when or where I will be doing that, but along those terms is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not what I would have expected, but I mean, you really never know what
would you expected? Because
I don't know. I would have thought definitely more like I want to do something in film. Whether that's like I would have expected you to do something more along more of like a local thing where it's just like I make commercials and stuff like that. Like I'm a freelance producer sort of thing. But that is not the case, and that's cool. That's interesting.
No, well, because I think it's important to have friends that like different friends for different interests.
Yeah.
And you're definitely my like movie and comic book and nerdy stuff friend.
That is, I'm that friend for everyone.
Yeah. And like when we were talking about hiking, I have my friends who like to hike.
Yeah.
So when I'm going on a hike, or when one of them is going on a hike, we stay in touch.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we're going on a hike. We're gonna go do this thing over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have.
You don't have your sociology friend.
I don't really have a sociology friend. Yeah. I would like to, because I can talk about that for hours.
Yeah. I've always loved history, especially World War II era. I don't know why, but that's always really intrigued me. Like I used to read all kinds of books. Like I remember going to the school library. I picked up books about Patton, everything. I loved learning about that era, and I don't even know why.
Yeah.
I loved that, and then I really enjoyed learning about like the Great Depression, and then I basically worked from that point back in history, and that's always really interested me, but I've never like pursued that any further than going on the History Channel and watching a documentary or two.
Yeah. Well, the other day when I was watching those history videos, I woke up and one of them was about Mesopotamia, right? And they had some art there, and I was like, I wonder what that would have looked like. Like, it would have been cool to have been born then. And then I was like, no, it wouldn't have been.
It would have sucked. Well, people always talk about, like, I would always love to live in the 50s, and I would love to live in the 50s, except for doctors were still at that time administering like just alcohol as like medicine every once in a while, and like, well, I mean, it was not as common as it was in like the 1800s, but it was still a practice. Like, was bleeding still a thing where you like bleed it out? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think modern
they at least didn't have cures for cancer or anything.
We don't
like,
have that.
I mean, I had like I needed a kidney transplant at 14. I would not be alive if I lived in the 50s.
Right, right, and not just that, but quality of life for even healthy people was like, So I mean, like culturally is even like I don't really know if I would want to live there, but
like, I mean, just like. The 50s, it was racist and sexist and just...
the two of us probably would have fared the best in the 50s, other than like you said, health problems. But and we don't want to go back then. So when I think about that, I'm like, no, I'm very happy where I am. I am
glad I am alive in the future.
But then later that day, my sister showed me a Vine of a girl saying, "Man, I was born in the wrong generation. Like, I would have much preferred to be in the Fertile Crescent of ancient Mesopotamia."
What?
Like it was a joke, like because people complain about how the past was so much better. But
just I want to be in the Fertile Crescent. Take me back to the crescent.
Wait. We don't have enough memes on this podcast. But when she showed me that, I was like, when she showed me that, I was like, I was thinking about that this morning, and she didn't believe me. I was like, no, like this is what I was thinking about, and I don't know. That's.
I was thinking about the Fertile Crescent.
I was thinking about myself being born in that area and thinking about what would that have been like.
I definitely think it would be cool. Like, I mean, even to see, because Rome's been pretty well preserved. Like all of the Roman Empire has been pretty well preserved, but it is still deteriorated a lot. And I think it would be really cool to see all of that ancient architecture.
The architecture was one thing, but what I was particularly interested in was the way the architecture blended in with the natural environment. Because like nowadays, there's in many cities there's a push towards making the cities visually greener. And having more of a natural feel to the city, which is fantastic. That's a good idea.
But it wasn't like to make it one with nature. It wasn't supposed to look natural.
Like
that's not what we're making things not to look natural. It's more just like, hey, instead of regular roofing, we'll have grass.
Which
is cool. Like that. It's cool, but
and I just was wondering, like, in these very early cities, it probably wouldn't have looked much different. Like, it probably like cleared for agriculture. There wouldn't have been a whole lot of natural environment. But I just would have liked to see what the reality of that blend of early cities and old style natural living would have looked like. And that's probably something I could look up. So maybe I just thought of how I'm going to spend my evening.
No, one thing, I wouldn't be interested in living in that time, but there was an episode of Futurama where they had a time machine, and time ended up being just a loop, where after the world, like the universe explodes, but then it reforms and explodes again.
Everything happens.
Into being the Big Bang, and everything happens the same way. But what I would like to see, I mean, this is not going to happen in our lifetime most likely, but if there was ever a chance to be like in a time machine where I could just sort of sit in the sky and go back to watch like what it looked like, just to observe, that would be really cool. Like a museum for the past where it is the past.
Maybe that's why we don't have anybody coming back in time to stop terrible events.
Maybe they're just like, we just want to watch them.
Or
whoa, there's a big explosion, let's look at it. Wild. Wild. That was a radical explosion. Oh yeah!
What was that in that Star Trek movie? They played the Beastie Boys and called it classical music.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that. That was like in the jukebox they were playing that, and it's like, don't listen to classical. That's gross. That's funny.
That bothered me though, because classical music is not just a term for, like, it's an actual period.
I know. I hate because that joke happens a lot in sci-fi, and it's just like, well, no, classical music is the like classical genre of being like right after the Baroque period of music. That's not going to change. Like,
but that's like not something I should complain about. Like,
I know, like out of all the things to complain, like I get it, it's silly, but it's also just like, come on. It's not why it's called classical.
Understand your musical history. But...
It's not just because you call it. There's instant classic and then there's classical. Gosh. Got too excited there. But there's a video I really want to make, and it's not going to take very long, we're just gonna need a couple of extras, and well, we don't even really need actors. We just need people who are willing to have a barbecue. For a little while.
Okay. I've not heard about this. This is
breaking
news.
I am breaking idea. But basically, one of the podcasts I've told you, I've listened to it's from a channel on YouTube, Super Mega, and they have the Super Mega Cast, and they had this dumb little joke where they just, I don't know why, but like one of the guys on there, he just kept saying the name Ben Henry for no reason at all.
Okay.
And that's just like a really generic like white person name, and I was like, wow. And I kept thinking about like what I would do with like the name Ben Henry, and then eventually as the podcast went on, they were like, it's like a classical like folk hero, or like just like a neighbor that like everyone knows that like just shows up to things. But then, and basically the whole story that they had was you're just gonna have like this dude, he's got like a straw hat, like a piece of hay like out of his mouth, he's wearing like overalls, he goes to like the family picnic. I'm picturing just like a nice little bench with the whole like checkered tablecloth over that and everything, everyone's sitting there. And then he just leaves in his truck, and it's just like a big old pickup, and he like just drives away. Stuff, yeah. And a little kid comes up, and he's just like, wow, mama, who was that? And then she just goes, that was Ben Henry. And then like Johnny Cash just plays in the background, and that's the entire video. Okay. It's gonna be only like 30 seconds, but I think that's just the funniest thing, and I don't know why.
Okay.
Just, that was Ben Henry.
Okay, yeah,
it's over.
No, that sounds good.
That was that was the only thing I had planned for this entire podcast. Was that one thing?
Was that whole thing?
That was it.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, we've got the one video coming out, the short film. If you're coming from here to go see it, do not expect to be impressed.
Yeah, it's honestly, we came together. There's a couple of other friends of ours that enjoy making films, and
you might hear them on the podcast sometime.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to have them on, talk to them about stuff. One of them, the man in the very dad-looking shirt with the beard that goes, "What's going on, friends?" He actually made our intro/outro music. Yes. His username is oxley.o.xli. There's a link in the description for his YouTube channel below.
Yeah, so go check him out. He's got good stuff.
Really good music. And then we just actually got as of recording this podcast, we actually just got our thumbnail art done by Lydia Gibson. I'll have a link to her stuff below if she's okay with that, anything like that. But we haven't really talked to her. This may change in the future. Anyway, thank you so much, Lydia, for the art. It looks amazing, and I'm sure everyone has appreciated it for 2 podcasts, and now you're finally getting the recognition you deserve on the 3rd.
And you will continue to do so.
Absolutely. And you've probably noticed her in the description below, all the videos for the last 2 videos, and it's going to be under this one as well, and it will continue to be there because it looks awesome. The music's awesome. That's where Caleb's channel will be, and yeah.
Sounds good. It sounds like we've had a successful podcast with lots of learning about ourselves.
This was a good podcast. Oh wait, I have one more hypothetical to end it with.
Okay.
To end the podcast with. Okay, Brendan, would you rather live in a house or live with a mouse?
Those are my only options?
Yeah. Wait, would you rather live in a mouse house with a blouse or a house with a blouse mouse?
Wait, okay. so is the blouse like something I wear, or is it like a sentient being that is also my roommate?
It's just a ghost.
Like, do I talk to it and stuff? Or?
No, it's just there.
Oh.
There's just, it's like, did you ever see the first Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes.
You know, there's just like that dress that they found in the water.
Oh, okay.
There's just always a wet blouse
in your house. Water, like seawater.
Yeah, it's just salt. It's always, but it just sits there in one place always.
Is it like on a rack? Like, is it on a mannequin, or is it just sitting on the floor in a pile?
It's just wet and just kind of.
Sounds really gross.
Yeah, but you could also live in a blouse house with the. No, you could live in a house with the blouse mouse.
And
I don't remember what I said.
I think that was it. It was a blouse mouse, like a mouse that wears a. Wait,
yes.
No, is it?
Yes, it wears a blouse. It just walks around like Jerry from Tom and Jerry.
I want that one.
Okay.
That's the one I want.
All right, there you go. You heard it here first, folks.
Yes.
He's living in the house with the blouse mouse. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Next week, yeah.
Yeah. And we got some new stuff actually coming out. Well, we got new stuff coming in the works, so look out for that. It'll be coming anytime.
Any moment now.
Any moment now, there will be new content.
It'll come up behind you and then put itself in your soft little ears and
then it'll whisper, Blouse Mouse.
Okay. So we're gonna end this on Blouse Mouse on 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Blouse Mouse. That's good.
There's your ASMR for the day.